Well, here we are again. It's the Main Street Randyland YouTube channel. Hooray! I'm over here in Randyland and I'm cold. Woo! I've been working on a game all day now. It's nighttime, so the night air has set in. And it is midwinter, so it is cold. Woo! But I've been working on my Carnival game, and it hasn't been fired up since probably 1995 when I had the Big Top Carnival of Fun multi-level extravaganza over on the boardwalk there at Glenwood Avenue. It's been sitting over here, and I figured, well, I always liked that game. Let's get it going. And I remembered when I closed Big Top, it had not been working at the end of the reign of Big Top, so something had happened. And sure enough, multiple things had happened, and it started with the power supply, which is in here, and I love the type of power supplies that they used. Now, this one on the right is a switching power supply that I just added, and the old one has your transformer, and it has your big capacitors in there, the big blue ones and the gray ones, and your chips and all your regulators and all things of this nature. Now, why did I do this hodgepodge of wire here instead of just using the switching power supply? Well, I'll tell you the story. Initially, I fixed the power supply, and the power supply was working, and I replaced the burned parts, and there was a chip in here that I had to replace with a socket that burned up and some capacitors that went bad. So after I had it all working with the volts and tested it, and I had it on, and I started working on the board, it smoked, and I blew some parts on it, and we blew some of these TIP transistors down on the bottom. So I had to wait until I could order new ones and get them in, and I got them in, and then I had everything back working again. But of course, the game didn't work. Well, why didn't the game work? Well, of course, we have your logic board over here and your sound board on the side. And nothing's easy. You always got to track it down. But one thing that I found was that I was losing voltage, and my power supply wasn't able to handle supplying all the parts that was necessary as it did in its heyday. So that's why I put in the switching power supply. But I could not just completely switch to a switching power supply because the old power supply also has the audio amplifiers built into it. So you can't just switch the power supply because then you lose all your audio amps and you have no chance of having sound. So what do? Well, I'll tell you what you do. You get your 5 volts off of your switching power supply because that's the biggest drain on your logic board. But you want to keep your -5, your 12 volt positive and your 12 volt negative on your original board because they're going to be handling parts of your audio and going through your amplifier, and you want to match it. So, after troubleshooting all the power problems and fixing a few components onto the board, then the problem was down to the sound, and I could get intermittent sound, and that seemed to have been some problems with some connections, and reseated everything, and melted into the pins again, resoldered and reflowed, got rid of a lot of that, but I could not hear the music other than very, very faintly. Now, the music is a big part of this game, and, without the music, it's just not as fun to play. So that was a concern, and sometimes I could hear it very faintly, other times I couldn't. So had to track it down, and it comes down to the input going to the soundboard. You have 2 soundboards. One is for the music and one is for the sounds of the things you're hitting and the gunfires and the ducks and all the things of this nature. So they're controlled by your main logic board, and they operate as far as what sounds are concerned, and it turns the music off when you're hitting other targets and sounds so that you can hear those sounds, and if the duck is coming down, it stops the music and whatnot. So you can't get away from it. But what I found was the output from the music board was going through a component or an array of components down on the board, and we were losing, strength for the audio signal somewhere down there. Now, rather than going to the trouble of trying to get these chips, which a lot of times I don't have, and I got to go ordering, what I did was I did a jumper I don't know if you can see it here. We got a little jumper wire that I tapped in right there and over here, and I jumped it. And what I did was I jumped the audio output from my music board over to the audio output of the sounds board, which they're going to end up in parallel anyway, and it's still controlled, and they could have done that to begin with to avoid a lot of problems going down to the board and then coming back up again. So we jumped it out, and with that, I should be able to operate. So let's get up and see. Ooh. Oh my gosh, I love sitting on the floor. Well, let's see. Ooh, we have a nice picture. Look at that. Nice graphic inside. Carnival. Gremlin Sega. I love the Gremlin Sega because this is when Gremlin purchased Sega. Now, Sega was a big company around for a long time in the late 60s and the 70s. They were making mechanical games, and they had a wide distribution, and everybody knew Sega. And then came along Gremlin starting to make video games. So what they did was, to get the distribution, they purchased Sega. And in purchasing Sega, they changed the name to Gremlin Sega. But eventually, they made that Sega Gremlin because everybody knew the name Sega more so than they knew Gremlin. And then eventually, after that, they simply dropped the name Gremlin because everybody knew Sega. So Sega became Sega once again, but it wasn't really Sega because it was really Gremlin who bought Sega, and from Gremlin Sega, Sega Gremlin, once again it became Sega, but it's really Gremlin. So that's a big story. But what's interesting about the Carnival game was they don't have any coin switches. They put in optics, which was really unnecessary down there, but they have optics and optic boards, and the coin just makes a shadow going into the coin box. See that? One coin, and I got a credit. And that's all I need. We'll push my start button. And let's see what we get. Ah, yes. There's a duck. Oh, the duck got down. It's hard to play while you're holding the camera. Got it. You only get so many shots of these ducks. If they get down to the bottom, they eat some of your bullets. Now, you can get some bullets back again if you hit a bonus, but you got to kill those ducks. And without my two hands to do buttons here and one hand there, I can't really play. Oh, the duck. That's going to kill me. I only got 2 shots left. I'm dead. Look at that. Game over already because the ducks got it. I don't know. Can I hold this camera under my chin? I can't do that. I don't have a neck thing. Well, we got to put in our name. We'll just go AAA and hit the pig, and there you go. Get another credit here for me. Love that music, though. And it goes up an octave as you keep playing. So I'm gonna try to kill ducks. Avoid it, see if we can keep the music going. I'm just trying to kill the ducks as they come down because I'll be dead pretty soon if I don't. ducks now. Oh my God. I only have 3 shots left. Oh my gosh, I'm out of shots. Well, there you go. Carnival, and he is working. Working Carnival. I love it. Let's get my name up there. R-A-N-N. Randy. Look at that. High score. Yes, sir. 1980 Sega. Got to clean up the glass here and clean up the machine. Got a little delamination and fix it up, and we'll get it on the floor. Hopefully this summer we'll be able to enjoy some Carnival. The only bad thing about running a game from 1980 with the parts from 1980 is if something breaks during the summer, I won't have time to fix it. So we'll keep it running as long as we can, and then eventually we'll have to do it again. So here we have it from Sega Gremlin. It's actually Gremlin Industries. There you go. Don't you love it? We'll see you next time. The Main Street Randyland YouTube channel. Hooray! I'm going to play again. I just love the music. See you later, guys.